intentional teaching practices. That's what I'm going to be talking about during this short video. The importance of intentional teaching practices, how we create those intentional teaching practices, and the why we create those intentional teaching practices. We start our intentional teaching practice with observation, understanding where the children or child, depending on whether or not you're doing a group lesson or an individual lesson, where they are developmentally. So we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of where they are in comparison to where they've been and where they're going. Because following Piaget's schema, we know that children build on top of skills little by little. It is a very systematic way. And when we understand that, we can support the children's development in a way that doesn't feel burdensome. It isn't sit down and learn these skills. We can provide opportunities for them to practice those skills in a variety of different ways across multiple domains. And with that, it creates a more play-based learning. It also is more fun. It is much more fun even for adults. To sit down and read something and then write out what we've learned is not nearly as fun as sitting and listening to videos by us, or in a group setting where we're actually planning. Also, many of the skills that children are working on are physical. Talking to a child about how to stand on one foot is not going to help them understand how to stand on one foot, and they're not going to understand the reason for standing on one foot, that balance, that crossing the midline, vestibular regulation, all of those things inside of just simply standing on one foot. We can create opportunities for them to desire to stand on one foot because it's fun. It's not a game, but it is fun. And when learning is fun, then people are more likely to take that information in. And that is the importance that we have as early years practitioner, is ensuring that children have the opportunity to develop emotionally, physically, and intellectually. And we can do that by understanding where they are, where they're going, with an intentional teaching practice. It also allows for scaffolding for children who may be struggling in one domain or another when we look at it very intentionally, instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. When we're intentional about it and we see what works, then we can repeat what works, so we can then support that specific area of development and use that as a solid platform for building on top of. When we are doing intentional teaching practices and planning, it is the word, it's built in. It's intentional. It is on purpose. What are we looking to present to the child, and what are we hoping the takeaway will be for the child? And that is also helpful for the child. When we come together and we create an activity, going back to the standing on one leg, we can create an opportunity for them to understand, today we are going to practice standing on one leg, and we're going to do that by using these hoops and these bean bags and going across a walking platform that is laid out on the floor. How does that look like? I have this yellow beanbag. I'm going to put it in this circle, and I'm going to step forward on one foot, bend over, and pick it up. And then I'm going to throw it to the next one, and then hop with the other leg into that and see if they can do that. Now, that's something that is going to be for someone who is more 3-4 years old. That's not somebody that is for 2, but somebody who is 2 can also do that. Here's a beanbag. Throw it into the square. That gets them to want to move to a particular space, putting something in front of them to step forward, and having a circle on the floor for them to step into. Oh, we want to keep our leg up. Let's step here. And then putting feet down, picking up the beanbag. Let's throw it into the next one, and then stepping forward with the other leg and making sure that it's a large enough step for them to be able to keep the leg that was on the ground and lift that up. Now, my explaining that to you, that's really complicated, but if you can use your experience and you can build on that, I think you can probably understand how that works. And if you try it for yourself, then you'll be able to really understand what is going to be happening here. And that goes across multiple domains. So it identifies the activity for the child and letting them know what skill you're looking for. Also, you can go across domains, because if you've got throwing, then you've got balance and identifying colors. And how many steps are you going to take? How many circles or how many hoops are on the floor that you're going to go through? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 5? And that is also brings in some math, because it's also a circle. So there's so many things that can come up in an intentional teaching practice. And when you think through each individual step in each individual domain, sometimes it can spark it can spark other ideas. Sorry, lost my train of thought. It can spark other ideas for how you can go into different domains in that creativity. As I was talking through this, my only thought was, let's see balance. And as I talked through it, I was like, oh, we could use square bean bags. We could have circle hoops. We could have them be colored. And all of these things started to come through as I started to talk through it. The same thing can happen as I start to write through them as well. And when I start to write through an activity plan, then the vocabulary comes in. What vocabulary am I going to be talking about? Oh, do the children already know this vocabulary? Can I introduce something a little bit different? Are there different words for this? There's hoop and there's circle. Those are two different things. And we have square, we have beanbag. What's inside the beanbag? Oh, it's soft, it's squishy. Those are all different words that can be listed in the intentional vocabulary, and introducing new vocabulary or reinforcing the idea of the vocabulary. Every intentional teaching practice does not have to be brand new. It can be repeated over and over and over again. As we know, children love to repeat activities, and having ones that children can then repeat for themselves is also very helpful. So it goes from having a teacher-led to a child-led, and they can set it up for themselves, and then they are taking responsibility for their own learning. And that is really the benefit of a structured plan for the adult. It sounds like it's for the children, but it's also for the adult, because the adult can stand back and watch. It's not all on us to create these. When children create learning opportunities for themselves, they're taking responsibility for their learning, and it elevates their self-esteem. And it does take a little bit of pressure off of us in that we are not physically leading. It gives us the opportunity also to observe. What is this child's strengths in putting this together? What are they curious about? And then we can use that as a launching pad for something else. And we can continue to build on each one of these individual lessons, especially when they are set up to allow the child to lead them for themselves. So that's really all I've got for this introduction on the importance of creating an intentional teaching practice on child development, because it allows us to track a child's development. And then the benefit to the children is that we are meeting them where they are in their development. And it also gives us an opportunity to set up the opportunity to observe. So those are all the things that can happen with an intentional teaching practice. And as we jump into this, you'll see how it becomes really relevant, and it makes everything much easier for you. Also, when you have these written out activity plans, they can be reused over and over and over again. Put them into themes, set them up in boxes. And then if you also have a less experienced teacher, you can say, oh, we have an activity plan for that. Take a look at that. See what you think. She or he might want to put her own twist on that. And so then that's also a great way, because it adds creativity and newness to an activity plan. It can also be used if you have someone stepping into your classroom. God forbid you're not in there, and you've got somebody stepping into the classroom, and you've got activity plans already laid out, and you have even a really inexperienced practitioner. They'll be able to look at that and say, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing today. They may or may not follow it exactly, probably not exactly, because not two people are the same, but it also gives them the opportunity to grow their skills. When I am reviewing activity plans, I get so many great ideas from what other people present. And so having a bank of these activity plans that you can share with other practitioners is also very helpful.